Hello everyone, this is Moses from Wilona's Cave. In the last episode, Angelica, our rapscallion, fought and knocked out another pirate from another ship. She then looted the body and found a recipe for turtle stew, but whoever smelt the stew would pass out and arrive at a mysterious island when awakened, which is indeed what happened. Right now, Captain James the Sorcerer, Angelica the Rapscallion, Mary the Buccaneer, and Admiral Two-Toes the Monkey are on their pirate ship named the Burning Ghost. The ship currently is drifting near a mysterious island. Mary tried to discern their location but failed. Since the crew was not in control in the last episode, the chaos factor went up from 5 to 6, which means that it is more likely to receive yes answers for questions asked of the fate chart. The scene setup I have for this episode is that the crew gets on Mary's dinghy boat, which is her container in her character creation, and rows toward the mysterious island. Now, let's see if the scene setup I just stated has been modified using Mythic. Let's drop a d10, a roll of a 6 or less, and the scene that I just stated has been modified. And it rolled on a 10, so the scene has not been modified and will continue as stated. That's a good start at least. Captain James and his crew climb into Mary's dinghy boat and row toward the island. Now, a little backstory of Mary and Angelica. They are twin sisters, but not identical. When I randomly rolled on Angelica's character sheet for her background, I rolled on orphan. So if she was an orphan, then her twin sister is also an orphan. They were too young to remember their mother, but they do have vague memories of their father. Now, when I look at this island, it kind of looks like a jungle. So I'm going to roll on the jungle random tables on page 144 in the Pirate Borg book. And I'm going to focus on the random table of terrain. Let me drop in a d20, roll it, and it landed on a 5, which is a small moss-filled cave, which is actually quite fitting seeing that there's a cave just in front of them. Now, with all the things they can see on this island, especially when they were on the Burning Ghost, why would they want to go into this cave right away? I'm going to roll on foul weather in Pirate Borg. It's a 2d6 dice roll, so let me drop in a 2d6 in the dice tray, and let's see why they would want to enter the cave right away. Let me drop in a 2d6 and roll them, and it rolled on a 3, which is a nauseating green mist. That's also fitting. No way would this team want to go through that after their experiences from the last episode. So Mary notices there's a green mist slowly surrounding them and says, I don't feel so good, like I'm going to throw up. And you can hear Admiral Two-Toes screaming and panicking, basically trying to say, hey, I don't want to almost get thrown up on again. Captain James agrees and says, oh, my stomach again. Hurry up, everyone. Get inside the cave ahead of us. And then they all run into the cave close by. They are now clear of the nauseating green mist. Inside the small moss-filled cave is a door behind a thick layer of moss. I wonder if Mary can use her presence ability and perceive the door behind the moss. I'm going to set the difficulty rating for this test to DR14, which is labeled difficult. Now she has a +5 for presence, really high up there, so that means she needs to roll a 9 on a d20. Let me drop in a d20, roll it, and it rolled on a 13, a success. Captain James looks around and says, this is the smallest cave I've ever been in, and that's not good because Admiral Two-Toes has claustrophobia. Angelica grabs some of the moss that is lining the walls of the cave and pulls off a big piece and brings it up to her nose. She then says, I have never seen moss like this before. It has an odd scent as well. Mary notices that the stone wall on the cave has a sharp edge from the location where her sister pulled the chunk of moss out from. Mary then walks up to the spot on the wall and rubs her finger against that edge. She then rubs the palm of her hand downward, following the sharp edge. Mary then says, Captain, I think there's something behind all this moss. Look at the sharp edge, sir. Captain James walks toward where Mary is pointing and agrees that there seems to be something behind all this moss. Get all of the moss off from here, Captain James orders. Mary and Angelica both grab handfuls of moss and start pulling it away from the cave wall. After a short while, Captain James can see an outline of what looks like to be a door. Captain James yells out, "Everyone stop!" He then walks up to the freshly exposed wall and rubs both of his hands over the area and feels a doorknob. He then tries to turn it. Let's quickly go to the fate chart with Mythic and roll to find out if the door is locked. I'm going to put the odds at likely, and with the chaos factor at 6, that would be a 75 or less for the answer of yes on if the door is locked. Let me drop in a D100, roll it, and it rolled on an 86, so the door is not locked. Well, Captain James thinks to himself that there is nowhere else to go. They don't want to go back outside with all the green mist, so he turns the doorknob and the door opens. What they saw through the door was a whole new environment, much different than outside the cave. It was a swamp. Now I'm going to roll on Death Head Swamp D10 encounters on page 154. Let me drop in a D10, roll it, and it landed on a 1, which is fat twisted trees, Spanish moss hangs from every branch, their bark and knots resemble faces, they sing in the dreams of anyone that sleeps nearby. Captain James and his crew walked through the door into the swamp. There was murky water everywhere and trees covered in Spanish moss. They hear a voice, but they couldn't understand it. While looking around for whoever spoke, they see a person appear. Mary asks, "Do you all see a voodoo priestess, or is it just me?" Let me roll on the fate chart quickly to see if Captain James recognizes this voodoo priestess. I'm going to put the odds at very unlikely. So a roll of 35 or less, Captain James recognizes this person. Let me drop in a D100, roll it, and it landed on a 28. So Captain James recognizes this voodoo priestess. Captain James yells out, "Badessi, is that you?" Then the voodoo priestess replies, "Oh, Captain James, funny to see you here, and long time no see." And with that, we end this episode. Now time for a little bookkeeping with Mythic. As for NPCs, are there any new NPCs? Yes, Captain James's team met a mysterious woman that he recognizes named Badessi. Now for threads, are there any new threads? I'm going to add who is Badessi and how does Captain James know her. And as for the chaos factor, it is currently at 6. But due to Mary finding the door and Captain James recognizing someone on this mysterious island, I'm going to lower that down to 5. And that will end the bookkeeping with Mythic. And I also want to thank everyone that has supported this channel, and a big thanks to everyone that has purchased my ebook, of which the purchase links will be in the description below. Thank you. I hope you all enjoyed another episode from Wilona's Cave. Happy gaming, everyone. Bye.